here at Recycled Reads with poetic license.
It sounds like a cool name.
Janet Kuypers.
Yeah.
I have a question. Because it's just us, it's a long piece, and it's prose, it's emotional, it's dedicated.
Just one long piece.
And then I will save actually related to that.
Okay, cool.
Hi there. Hello, boys and girls. This is the third book I ever had published. I love the title, Closed Cover Before Striking. And the second printing, I thought it was appropriate to have a matchbook for the cover. Anyway, this is a fun but tumultuous piece called I Remember. I remember the hot tub party at the end of junior year. Remember that I begged you to take me because it was actually a dance thing and not just a casual party? And you said you already had a date, so you set me up with Reedy, and I just thought that this was just a friendship kind of setup, but oh, what a mess. I was just trying to push him away from me the entire night, and that's when Chad came along and saved me. I have pictures of us from that night in the hot tub where Trey won the Palest Man at the Party award, or her photographs of us with plastic ladies around our necks. I remember when we went to the They Might Be Giants concert and managed to get them to be in the third row, and the two of us, along with four other people, were yelling requests at the band, like they weren't playing music. And then at one point, I still couldn't believe we actually got them to respond to us when we were there in the middle of the show. I remember how we were traveling through Boston, and we stopped at Cheers. I had our picture taken from in front of the front door. We were soaking wet because it was raining, and it was our only day in Boston. But we followed all the painted red lines on the streets to find historical landmarks, stood near the torture devices on the sidewalks, took our pictures everywhere. And then we drove to the Harvard campus, and we took pictures of ourselves looking intelligent, looking upwards, hands under our chin, poised in thought, looking as tacky as possible. I remember how you'd sit in my dorm room in the window, and when we have our feet hanging out outside, and you would always joke that one day you'd just push me out that window. But we'd sit there and we'd listen to all sorts of different songs. I'm not even going to name them all, but then you would be saying that you had different lines and you thought the words were in one point, give it to me, and we would just joke about these things, and we'd sing, and we'd dance to different bands, and we'd just make everything up, and we would just all wave at strangers and laugh. Yesterday was the first day I hadn't cried for you. Those first 2 days had been so hard. I might have been just fine for a half hour, and then something would trigger it in my mind, and I would just want to cry. I thought maybe I was getting used to the news, but today I cried again. I remember how Valentine's dance we'd go together, and it was at your fraternity house, and you came over dressed up in a nice suit, and I was wearing this red strapless Savannah white style dress, and you looked so mad. Why are you mad? I just came from the house, and everyone is sitting there, and they're not even dressed up, and they're just watching a basketball game. Decorations aren't even up. So I looked at my clothes. So you're trying to tell me that I'm overdressed? And so we decided to take pictures of us dressed up at the dance before, and then I changed into something else. And actually, we got to the back of the dress, and we were just making jokes because it ended up tearing, because we were just laughing our butts off at all these mistakes we were making just to go to a dance that wasn't even really happening. I remember how you'd come over to my dorm on Sunday nights, and we'd order pizza, usually Grog's, home of mold, I think, and we'd spend evenings there, and we'd play Stand by REM, and we'd dance dance like they do in the video, or we'd play Madonna Vogue, and you'd be all posing and doing crazy things. I remember how we met. I was sitting at the cafeteria with a bunch of other girls from my dorm, and you were friends with one of them. You came over right up to me, and you ended up right across from me, and the first thing you did when you looked at me right after Christmas break, I just got back from visiting my parents in Florida, and I had a tan, and the first words to me was, "Is that a real tan?" And I was so mad at you. I thought you were just a cocky jerk. Well, you could have gone to a tanning salon over vacation. I don't even know how it could have been the start of one of the best friendships of my entire life. And then you called me on the phone, and you told me the news. You still sounded so happy. Your viewpoint was that anyone could die at any point in time, that we just have to live every day to the fullest. And I could get hit by a car tomorrow, you said. You can't let the thought of death kill you. And you were telling me these things, and I was just trying so hard to not just start sobbing on the phone. I remember I had begged our freshman year that you invited me to a Violent Femmes concert, and you went to me, and then you got drunk, and we were just friends, and you ended up licking the side of my face, and I thought, how is this going to be a symbol of our friendship, right? You're not supposed to die. This isn't supposed to be happening to you. I've always expected to be able to visit your family after we all retire and then compare photos of our grandchildren. You can't leave this hole in my life. I remember you, after I broke up with Bill, and I tried to remain friends with him, and he would periodically borrow his black convertible, And so one day I would be driving, and it would be like 60 degrees, and I'd be blasting the heat just so I could have the convertible down and be able to drive around. And that's when I'd be like mastering and saying, "Hey, come and join me," as we drive around in Champaign, Illinois. I remember how every time we were going out for the evening and you'd be out waiting for me to get ready, I'd come out and I'd ask you how I looked. And your words would always tell me that I looked really nice or sexy or fantastic or whatever. But you always said something to me that made me feel like I was the most beautiful girl in the world. I don't want to catalog these things. I don't want to catalog these events, these times I've shared with you. I don't want to feel like there will never be any more memories with you. And you were on the phone with me, and you were saying that you just have to get used to the fact that you're not going to grow old, have a family, that all of your superiors tell you, no, wait till you get that promotion, and you know there is no waiting for that future. You won't be around. People take for granted that they're just going to be around. You never did, of course. You were the one that was always making a point to cram as much living as you possibly could do into every moment of your life. But most people aren't like that. Most people are never as alive as you. I remember you and Sarah standing out on Green Street and 6th waiting in line for at the cash station when a cop walks up behind you two, and he appeared to be in line. And you asked, "Do you think the cop wants cash?" I remember shopping with you on the East Coast, going to a clothing store and watching you look for sweaters. You pulled out a pink pattern one, held it up for my opinion, and I said, "I'm not a pink person," I said, and so you kept looking, and then I found this dark brown black cardigan from the rack, and I held it up, and then you turned your head, and you said very loudly, "I'm not a black person," which was loud enough for the black security guard to give you a funny look. I think I want all of my friends to die after I do. I don't want to think about, I don't think I can handle this. You're not supposed to leave me. I'm the one that's supposed to make the dramatic exit. Besides, whenever I get married, you're supposed to stand up in my wedding. If you die before that, I'll kill you. I remember the Halloween party I held on Friday the 13th of October, your birthday. I put up pages from the Weekly World News, all the supernatural sightings all over the place, lit candles and pulled out a Ouija board. And then you came over, put on one of my hats. I gave you a carnation, and it was like we were just going to be happy with each other for the rest of the night. I remember when you and Jay and Ellen came over to welcome Blaine to Illinois, and you got drunk, fed Ellen my pound cake that my mother gave me, and then proceeded to fall asleep in my chair, sitting sideways with your head on an open window. And yes, I have pictures of this. You can't deny any of this. I remember going to C.O. Daniels with you on a Friday afternoon with the other guys from your frat house, and how we'd dress up in our Greek sweatshirts to try to fit in. Well, you always fit in. That's just how you dress. But I had to make the exception for my luck, for my dress code whenever we go out for these weekly happy hours. And I remember how we were wallowing in our depression, our respective depressions one Friday afternoon, saying that nobody loves us, that we're all going to grow old and alone. Well, the vision I had is that I would be an old lady living in an apartment with 40 cats, periodically taking up one of them and saying, "You love me, don't you?" Well, anyway, I remember you made a pact that day that if the two of us were still alone by the time you were 40, we'd get married. We made a pact. You can't back out on me now. And just to read I shortened it for you. It was my best friend who had full-blown AIDS. And he was just letting you guys know, he was in this test study thing from military, and he was in total remission. He did stand up in my wedding, which is so wonderful. And I was the only person from Illinois that went to his wedding. And they've got a kid, and it all seems what. So I'm telling you, there's a happy ending, but it was a very sad thing to have to write about that. Yeah. And I will save the song that makes me think of him for the next round. And thank you very much.